You scroll through your phone at midnight, surrounded by hundreds of contacts you never call. The apartment is quiet. Nobody knows exactly what you're feeling right now. For most of human history, that sentence would have made no sense at all. For roughly 300,000 years, a human being was almost never truly alone. Not for an hour, not for a night, not even for a few minutes of unwitnessed silence. So, what did loneliness even mean to your ancestors? And why does modern life manufacture so much of it? Let's start with the size of the group your brain was actually built for. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent decades studying primate brain size relative to social group size and found a striking pattern. The bigger a primate's neocortex, the larger the stable social group it could track and maintain relationships within. For humans, Dunbar calculated that number at roughly 150 people. This is now known as Dunbar's number. It represents a rough ceiling of relationships a human brain can meaningfully hold in memory at once, complete with history, obligations, and trust. Here's why that matters. Your brain isn't just capable of tracking 150 relationships, it expects to. It was built inside a world where you were never more than a shout away from dozens of familiar faces. Grooming, gossip, storytelling, shared meals, these weren't hobbies. Dunbar argued they were the social glue that held these large groups together, the emotional infrastructure your brain evolved to require daily, not occasionally. Now picture what a single evening actually looked like. As darkness fell, a group of shaggy-haired foragers gathers around a small fire. This isn't incidental. Anthropologist Wiessner analyzed daytime versus nighttime conversations among the Hoansi people of the Kalahari Desert and found something remarkable. During the day, conversation was practical. Complaints, logistics, minor disputes. But once firelight fell across the group at night, over 80% of conversation shifted to stories, songs, and shared cultural memory. The fire didn't just provide warmth, it created a nightly, unavoidable ritual of connection when isolation would have been almost physically impossible to arrange even if you wanted it. There was no bedroom door to close, no separate wing of a house to retreat to. Bodies were close enough to hear each other breathing. So what happened when someone was actually excluded from that circle? Here's a counterintuitive twist. In small foraging groups, exclusion wasn't an uncomfortable feeling to be managed with self-care and journaling. It was a mortal threat. A lone human on the savannah, without a group's eyes watching for predators, without shared labor for food and water, without allies to defend against rival bands, faced a dramatically shortened life expectancy. Ostracism functioned as one of the most severe punishments available to small-scale societies, specifically because everyone understood, on a gut level, that being cut off from the group could be a death sentence. Loneliness wasn't an emotional inconvenience. It was a biological alarm bell, wired directly into your nervous system, screaming that your odds of survival had just collapsed. This is why loneliness doesn't simply feel sad. It feels urgent, restless, almost physically painful. That reaction isn't a personal flaw or an overreaction. It's an ancient alarm system still fully wired into your body, tuned to a world where disconnection genuinely could kill you within days. Which brings us to the modern mirror, and it's a startling one. Psychologist Julianne Holt-Lunstad led a large-scale meta-analysis, published in 2010, pooling data from over 300,000 participants across dozens of studies. Her conclusion? Chronic loneliness increases the risk of early death by a margin comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, and by more than the risk posed by obesity. Your body, it turns out, still treats social isolation as an existential threat, even when no predator is actually waiting in the dark. The alarm system never got the memo that apartments have locks and grocery stores exist, and yet the physical structure of modern life is engineered almost perfectly to trigger that ancient alarm as often as possible. You commute alone, sealed inside a car or headphones. You work in silence at a desk, messaging coworkers through a screen instead of a shared fire. You come home to a private unit stacked among dozens of other private units, each one soundproofed from the next. Each door a small, personal cave sealed against everyone else's. For the first time in the history of your species, it is entirely possible to go an entire day, even an entire week, without anyone witnessing your face in real time. Consider what that means next to Dunbar's number. Your brain still expects a tribe of roughly 150 familiar people, bound by shared meals, shared stories, shared firelight. Instead, many people now maintain a phone full of contacts they rarely see in person, while the physical circle around them, the people close enough to notice if something felt wrong, might number in the single digits. This mismatch is not a personal failing. It is not evidence that you are somehow worse at making friends than your ancestors were. Your ancestors didn't have to work at connection. Connection was a default architecture of daily life, built into the fire, the sleeping arrangement, the walk to gather food. You are trying to manually recreate, through scheduled calls and text threads, something that used to require no scheduling at all. None of this means modern life is worse in every sense. There was real danger in that ancient closeness too. Disputes couldn't be avoided by simply leaving the group chat. Privacy, as a concept, barely existed. But the particular ache of feeling unseen, of wondering if anyone would notice your absence, was not the background hum of daily existence that it has become for so many people today. So the next time that late night loneliness creeps in while you're scrolling through a phone full of names, understand what you're actually feeling. It isn't weakness. It is a 300,000-year-old alarm system, correctly detecting that the fire has gone out and nobody is sitting close enough to notice. You scroll through your phone at midnight, surrounded by hundreds of contacts you never call. But somewhere underneath that silence, an ancient part of you is still listening for the sound of voices around a fire, certain that if you just found them, you would never have to feel this way again.